And welcome everybody to dcodesandgames.com. This is custom building made easy. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you today is about what custom building does to your park and the bonuses it has on it. So the first thing would be your ride. Now for this prestige we have 1,000. Now this means the actual rating that people will actually go and flock to your ride. So the higher prestige, the better. So we have this broken down into two sections. So the first section is ride experience. Now this shows you what the excitement and fear factors of the rides are. This will improve the rating. And then your scenery bonus. This is affected by what scenery is around the platform and your ride, etc., or on your ride. You can edit your rides now and put scenery on them, which is quite cool. And really, you'd want to get that platform up and running and have scenery all around it, like I do, to have that bonus. Now, the shops, well, they are interesting because the shop alone actually is minus 1,250. So this is an eyesore for your guests in terms of park rating. But the actual building itself, you go to the wall there, it has a scenery bonus of 653. So if you had like 11 or 12 of these, then your bonus is already very high, and that does a lot for your customers in terms of what they're looking at and how beautiful your park is. So this is the second part. So we are going to align some scenery on a platform here. This is the transport that I had on the other bit there. And if we go and get a piece, so I'm going to get this piece, and it's 4 meters, and I have a few options on the right here. So I have angle snap, so I can angle snap to 45 degrees. So if I do that and I hold down the Z key, I am angling snapping to 45 degrees. If I then go and change it, I am then doing 22.50, etc., etc. And if I take it right off, I am doing whole 360. You can do a free mode really. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it to 45. I'm just going to rotate this. So you can press Z just once to rotate it 90 degrees like this. And then you will want to align it to the station. Now you can also stick this and to the surface, and I also want to add it to the building. That's a must. And I'm going to angle snap it off for now. And now what I could do is if you press Control, you can actually align it to the surface on the X axis. And then instead of doing the whole process again, what I could do is I could copy these, and you could press the shift and then click on the left mouse button, highlight all of them, and then duplicate. And if, for example, you didn't want to do that, you can just go back or by right clicking, and it just undoes that. But then if you want to do that again, you'd have to highlight them again. And you can also left click and drag the mouse button to highlight this building like this. So I could highlight it all like that, Or another way to highlight it is to use the multi-select, and if you click on it, it highlights the whole building. So that's quite a good way to select all of your building. Now what I want to do is duplicate it. And you could use the shift again to put it up. And then I could then duplicate this again. And what I could do is do it the other way around because it will be facing the other way. So then you can get it at a quite a good distance like that. Just makes it easier for you. And then what we want to do is edit building, go to the roof. Now you have the option of auto stacking here. And that what that does is it's a bit buggy too sometimes, but once you've placed it, it will automatically stack without you having to do much work. I would only use it though if you think that you can really benefit from it because that's what you're doing at the time. I would never use it if you don't need it. If you don't need it, just switch it off. It can get a bit buggy. So once I've done this, and you can use the control again to do this, but I'm going to do the other side too. And as I said, to make it easier, you just duplicate this. Duplicate it again. Duplicate it again. Duplicate it again. Now, if you've noticed that on here you have grid size, so that's how big the grid is. So it actually snaps in a very big distance, and maybe you just want a smaller distance. So if we did half, then it would do half. And if we did 1, then it would be very, very little distance. And if we did the grid height, well, that would mean that if we press shift and we put this up, it goes into the increments of 0.25 meters. But if we wanted to change that and we did for say 4 meters and we were here, then it would do it would actually go up into increments of 4 meters. But our grid size we have as a 1 meter, so when we actually move it on the X plane, it will be a bit less. But when we move it up, it will be much more distant snapping. In terms of getting pieces for your doors and stuff, well, firstly, I would always try to find these snapping pieces because that really helps, and they're the ones that don't actually size. There are some pieces here, for instance, that actually size, and they have a scale size, so they look a bit different. So you have two different types of object types. You have these types, and then you have these types. So just make sure you know which one. They both snap, but when you choose these ones, it's more freedom. You have more freedom initially, but you can change the snap on them as well if you want to. And they can be quite good to just be a bit more precise in your building of things if you need to. But if you're building the foundations, yeah, always go with the snap ones if you can, and then you can use the others to build around it. And to notice that actually I can change the color of this if I wanted to. So at the moment we got a green, but I am going to select this, and then I'm going to change it to yellow. And also do remember to confirm this as well. I keep forgetting. Now, one thing I could do here is if I find this is actually in a position where I can't move it and it's on this locked position up and down, I can double shift to take it away like this, and that will help you with your freedom of movement. That was a frustration I had for a bit. Now in this bit, this is where I can use auto stacking. But you see, it's a bit buggy in this sense because it thinks that I'm auto stacking up here, which I don't actually. I want to do it in here. So auto stacking, as I said, is only good for the basic stuff when you're starting out. Then it can get a bit like, well, no, I'm not wanting to stack there. I'm wanting to stack here. Now it's recognizing it, you see? But it took it a while to, and it's not necessarily something that you should always be using. This is the third part. So I've done a doorway on this side, but it's not completely accurate to the other side. And I can't find a piece that will actually do this. So I've gone into these pieces where they can actually scale and everything, and I'm going to talk to you about advanced move. So advanced move is a tool that you can use. So if we had this into place, we can put this into place, let's say roughly into place, and we will now select it, and you can use X for advanced move. So we press X, and now we're into you'll see these three lines, and you can use relative like positioning. So you can move this on the X axis like this, or like this, or if you want to go up on the Y there or the Z, then you can. And if you want to change it to world position, you can as well, whichever one you prefer. The angle sometimes changes, either changing slightly comparison if it's a world or relative. Normally I use relative. You can sometimes use world if you like, and then you can also press the X again, and then you get your rotation. So you can rotate this up and down like that. I want it in that position, and then you can obviously do Control Z to undo it, or Control Y to redo it, etc. And I'll just do advanced move too. And you can notice actually when I select it and I do advanced move, it stays in position, so you can manipulate it just slightly as you want. And that's the great thing about advanced movement, I feel. For example, if I just did movement, it then follows my cursor around the place, and that's not necessarily what I want if I'm trying to position it exactly where I want. So that's how you do that, really. There's also another option. So you have the rotation, you have the movement, but you have another thing where you can reduce the size. And in this case, I probably would just get it to the size of that building, like that. Maybe like this. And then if I move it slightly up, and then I move it slightly this way, and then slightly up, and then slightly this way, and then if I move it this way, and remember I'm doing it on the snap distance, so I can obviously take that off if I don't want it, and then just get this right. I might want to rotate it a bit. I mean, that's pretty good. It's not perfect, but you know, you could play around with that, see what you guys think, and then you can get it perfectly. I mean, I don't think I have it perfect, but you guys can. And then if I do advanced move, I can also do something else where go in the advanced mode, you can say fine, but then you can do Control X. Then what that will do is it will duplicate it. So you can actually move it along like that perfectly to align it like this. And then that should have the entrance done. The other thing you can do eventually, once you've done all your building and stuff, you can select it, and you can actually select different bits of your building, or you can do the multi-select and select everything. And if we did select everything and we wanted to duplicate this, we could duplicate it. We could even save it as a blueprint if you want. And if we duplicated it, we could duplicate it, or we might want to have certain bits from the building and split it from the building, which is fine. So what would you do then? Well, you just go to the select mode if you're on the building. So I'm selecting different parts of the building, and I could do this, and I could then duplicate this, and you must duplicate it first. Don't split it from the building. If you split it from the building, this is what will happen. It will create it into a different building, so then this becomes separate, which you might want to do, but you might not want to do that. So just bear in mind that's what's going to happen if you do that. And then duplicate, and then split the building, and it'll have a completely different area of the building, so that you can play around with it. So I don't think that is actually done yet, and I think there's actually more to that building. Obviously, this is just the basic foundation. This is how you basically build a foundation, and then you can add stuff to it, and that takes you to a whole new level. So if you'd like to see the end result of this, please comment in the section below, and I will do another video on this on a part 2, and I will see you guys in the next one. But also, before you go, I have a weather system I've actually been developing as a game developer, and I think it's actually a really great weather system. I might even start up another channel in terms of game development and stuff. I haven't really figured my mind out because it takes a lot of work to do this channel. So let me see. But if you guys really like to get into game development, maybe games is just your thing and you don't want to go into game development, which is fine. But if you do, I believe this asset will really help you out. And it's made by Unreal Engine. And check out the photos and stuff that I'm doing. And I believe I should have it ready soon for you guys to maybe purchase.